Welcome into NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. We are back on the big stage and joined by our fullback, Michael Robinson, and our shutdown corner, D'Angelo Hall, for today. Guys, a lot of birthday cake being thrown around as we celebrate Tom Brady's 44th birthday. Zach Wilson, his birthday too, but he's half that age, 22 years young. But we're going to start with a team that's not in a very celebratory mood, the Cowboys. Earlier today, Mark McCarthy said that Dak Prescott took a setback in his recovery from that shoulder strain. He did not throw at practice today and will not be playing in that Hall of Fame game on Thursday. Matt Money Smith and Maurice Jones-Drew caught up with McCarthy at camp.
Our Super Bowl champion head coach, Mike McCarthy, with us now. It's your second camp. How much different does this one feel considering the strange circumstances from last year as you head into your first preseason game in a couple days?
I mean, I'm stating the obvious. It's night and day. Just the fact that now we're in Oxnard. I mean, this is an incredible setup. Obviously, the weather is a huge benefit for us, but just the fact you're able to get into a normal flow and, you know, have the installed practices that we refer to and get everything installed and now just, you know, today kind of transfer into getting ready for the game against Pittsburgh and Canton. So, yeah, it's night and day. Frankly, I spend more time comparing this to prior training camps when we were back to normal.
Coach, you addressed the media a little bit earlier, shared some news about Dak Prescott and the shoulder. If you could maybe just reiterate and walk us through sort of the decision and maybe how long you want to make sure he gets to get right before you put him back out there.
I definitely. I mean, he obviously has an injury he's dealing with, and I just think particularly with the time of year we're in and where we are in our training, we're just going to kind of take a step back and be smart with it. You know, it's something that we just don't want to let it turn into something major. So he won't play Thursday night in Canton, and we'll reassess when we get back.
We certainly appreciate you taking a couple of minutes out for us. Good luck on Thursday, and good luck the rest of camp.
Thank you, man. Good seeing you both.
All right, so Emra, I'm going to start with you here. How concerned should Cowboys fans be about Dak Prescott's shoulder?
Yeah, I don't think Dallas Cowboy fans should be that concerned right now. I mean, look at the time of the year. This is very, very, very early in training camp. And I'm not so sure if Dak Prescott was completely healthy that he would have even been playing in the Hall of Fame game anyway. I mean, hell, Mike Tomlin just announced that Mason Rudolph is going to start, not Ben Roethlisberger. So there's no surprise there. But I do think there's part of the Dallas Cowboys that have to protect Dak Prescott from himself. And what I mean by that is, he's now making $40 million a season. That's a big contract. That you're also the face of the franchise for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a tremendous amount of pressure. And then you look at last year when this team wasn't that good, but when he was on the field, he was breaking NFL passing records with throwing almost 400 yards a game. So his personality is a guy that wants to be in the forefront of everything. So I do think that now is a time that you kind of pull back on Dak and just make sure that he's ready for the long haul, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. And then you also have to, I think there's a little bit of maybe some compensating for that lower leg injury. I mean, when you throw the football with all legs. Dak Prescott messed up his right ankle, right? That's your back plant leg for right-handed quarterbacks. And if you're thinking about that leg injury you're going to be using more of your arm to push the ball down the football field than anything else. And then he's just been going through a long rehab process. So I just look at the entire situation, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are doing a great job of managing Dak Prescott. Keep him off his feet right now. Again, you want this guy for later on in the season when the rubber meets the road. That's when you want Dak Prescott healthy and happy.
Yeah, absolutely, M-Rob. You talk about the impact a guy like Dak Prescott not only has on his football team on the field, but think about that locker room. Think about his presence in that locker room. That defense was highly upset at the way they were being asked to play defense last year. They almost had a mutiny down there in Dallas. And so a guy like Dak Prescott, he helps alleviate that situation as well. Obviously, they aren't dealing with Mike Nolan anymore. They got Dan Quinn on the defensive side of the football. But it just speaks to how Dak Prescott can galvanize that locker room. And another thing that can help Dak Prescott out is leaning on that running game, right? Ezekiel Elliott, to me, is still an elite back in this league, man. You have to find a way to get him the football as well. I know you got a lot of great pass catchers on the outside. But a couple years ago, they would line Ezekiel Elliott up and let him go one-on-one with some of these safeties and linebackers, and he was winning those matchups. And so, I know he had a little bit of a fumbling issue last year, but you heard Ezekiel say it already. Dak Prescott is his best friend. Having a guy like that back in the locker room, back in the huddle, while you're calling plays gives you a lot of confidence that you can go out there and take on anything. So I can't wait to watch that 1-2 punch of those two guys, too, reconnect as well.
No, we're going to dig into Zeke a little later in the show. But to the point on Zach, I mean, can he live for like one training camp as he's coming back? Can we let him like really get into this groove and actually hit the field without immediately freaking out? I mean, Mike McCarthy said it immediately. We're just making sure this doesn't turn into something bigger. All right, of course, we look ahead to week 1 at preseason. Don't forget Dallas at Arizona live on NFL Network Friday, August 13th. Okay, we turn now to the Pacific Northwest, where the Seahawks took to practice in Renton, Washington. Russell Wilson putting the offseason behind him and the Seahawks offense. They look to take flight with the new OC, Shane Waldron, while our very own LaDainian Tomlinson caught up with the Seattle QB earlier today.
All right, I'm pleased to be joined by QB1 for the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson. Russ, thanks for joining me, man. I got to ask you, within the first week, obviously, of practice, how's it been going out here? What do you guys tried to focus on so far in the first week?
Well, it's been great practice. The defense is looking great. Offensively, we're doing great too as well. It's been amazing. Shane's been amazing out there coaching the game for us. We're on our stuff. We've been prepared. I think that last year going through COVID and everything else really taught us how to prepare at the highest level, even if we're away from each other. And so I think that we're really ready to go. Guys have been looking spectacular. DK Metcalf has been looking amazing. Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, as good as it gets. The line's been really tough. I'm excited to have obviously Gabe Jackson up front there. He's a big dude up there up front. So it's been a great thing for us, and it's good to be back. It's good to have the fans back. We've missed them too. So for them to be here at practice every day has been really cool for us.
Yeah. So obviously you talk about all the stars you have on this football team on offense. New offensive coordinator, as you mentioned, is Shane. Talk about a little bit, how do you think this offense might be a little different from Schottenheimer's offense, which I played in? Yep. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what do you think it'll be like, the difference?
Well, it's all West Coast. We got a lot of similar thoughts and ideas and everything we've done. Obviously we've been able to do a lot of great things over the past several years, and I think that we want to be able to keep a lot of that good stuff that we've done, but also bring a little bit of a change of pace and change the look here and there. And I think Gerald Everett, he's a really talented player too. To add him to our football team has been great. He's been looking phenomenal out here, so he can really get open. So it's been fun for us. I think we want to have the versatility to be able to do it all, and it's going to come through the running game, it's going to come through the passing game, it's going to come through explosive plays and all of the different things that we can do. We have a lot of versatility, and it starts up front. It starts with that key part of it, and it starts with guys making plays. At the end of the day, to go where we want to go, it's going to come down to 1-2 plays here and there, and it starts right now.
You've always been a guy that's self-motivated, obviously. No one has to come out here and motivate you to play your best. Obviously, last year didn't finish the way you wanted to with the tough loss in the playoffs. So tell me, what was the mindset in the offseason getting back to this point, starting from ground one, with this team? What is the mindset? How do you get back to the point where you want to get to, and that's competing for a Super Bowl championship?
I think the bottom line is you got to be unapologetic. Unapologetic. You're just going for it. At the end of the day, it's tough to breathe sometimes when you're at high altitude, And so I think that for us, and for me personally, you got to keep going. You got to keep believing. You got to keep climbing. And I think that's really where we are, where we're at. Going to be unapologetic about it. So I think that's really the mindset that we have.
Well, I appreciate it, Russ. It tells me all I need to know in your mindset. Yeah. I know you're ready.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
Let's go. Appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure. Go Hawks.
All right, so I'm going to turn to our former Seahawk here, MROP, first.
Yes.
What do you think has to happen for Russell to have success this year? And let me clearly define what I'm asking in terms of success, because when does he not, right? He's been to the playoffs, I think, every year except for 2017. So I'm talking Super Bowl level success for Russ.
Yeah, MJ, I think that's that thin air he's talking about. That's that air that, he said was thin for guys like him, right? That Super Bowl air. And I think the way to get back to that air is, and I know people might not agree with this, but it's running the football. It's running the football almost 40 times a game. That's when these Pete Carroll teams.
To Tom Brady. Julian Edelman tweeting this out. Not passing up a chance to roast him. Will someone give my friend Tom Brady a high five? It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Bubs. Nice, nice. And Dominican Sue also tweeting out, happy birthday to Tom Brady, the only QB that I like. Well, Scott Hansen and our very own playmaker, Mike Irvin, they caught up with TB12's head coach earlier today.
Coach Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trying to go back-to-back as Super Bowl champions, but today at practice they had sudden change drill about 1 hour before practice was scheduled to start. The lightning hit. Everything had to go indoors. How did they handle the sudden change, and how's training camp going so far?
It's been fantastic. Yeah, the guys are very, very flexible, and the older guys would rather stay out here in the rain and get on that turf, but the young guys say, oh, I love that air conditioning. That's pretty nice, But, yeah, it really helps. We had a day scheduled really to go inside if we could this week because of 5 days in a row out in the sun, and they start monitoring that weight loss and say, let's get in the air conditioning one day.
But I think it's so high tech now, man. Before it was just like beat them till they're dead and get them a little rest and beat them again till they're dead. It's so high tech in training. Coach, last year you coached and you were chasing the rabbit. This year, how are you coaching differently with you now being the rabbit that everybody's chasing since you are the champs?
Really no different. I mean, our guys know what work looks like, and I gave them off the entire OTAs, the veteran guys. We just had the young guys here, and then brought everybody in from minicamp. We put all that to bed, and when I look at film, and Levante looks at film, and Tom looks at film, they know what work looks like. They know what complacency looks like, and I don't have to say anything because they're not going to allow it. And we've got great leadership, so I mean it's been a battle. Because we got a hell of a defense, a hell of an offense, and they're trying to see who's more supreme. It's fun to coach.
Tom Brady, 44 years old today. You've been around the NFL longer than either one of us have been around the NFL. I mean, John Elway seemed old when he retired. He was 38 when he retired. Marino was 38. Favre, who seemed ancient at the time, was 41. Your quarterback is 44 today, going into a season, and still considered one of the best in the game currently.
It's an amazing fire that burns in him. I mean, the competitive spirit that he has in everything he does. But when he's on the field, every down is to win, And if we're not winning, he's letting people know why. And I love that part of it. And so it's an amazing spirit, the way he takes care of himself. I've never been around a guy that really does take care of himself that much. Larry Fitzgerald was kind of a freak that way, took care of himself. Right. And but no, Tom is an amazing man and player.
Well, go have some gluten-free cake with him and some avocado ice cream, and tell him we said happy birthday.
I might go with the avocado tequila. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Coach Arians, thanks. Appreciate it. Can't wait to see it this year.
Coach talking shots already, and we're only in training camp. Well, Bruce Arians gets all 22 of his Super Bowl starters back this year, and, of course, the ageless wonder. D-Hall, how do you like their chances of being even better in 2021?
MJ, I love their chances. And, I mean, just listening to Bruce Arians, I was just smiling off camera, just hearing B.A. talk about just how iron sharpens iron. And, I mean, we use that saying a lot as football players, but it's true. Like when Deshaun Jackson was across from me and Pierre Garçon and all these top receivers, every day I was trying to bring it as a DB. And it got our football team better. And that's what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And can they be better? Absolutely. I mean, this was a team that did not touch the field last year to really create that chemistry. They had a couple distractions, right? They had some injuries. But now you got a team who's been together, who's been at the ultimate pinnacle. They won a Super Bowl. Not a lot of teams. I remember when Philly put together the so-called dream team, and I don't think they won the division that year. This was a team that had a lot of expectations on them. And to go out there and answer the bell every single game, and it wasn't pretty all the time. There was one point in the season where I was like, I don't know about Tampa. I really don't know. But then that defense started gelling. Todd Bowles got that rush going. Got those young guys on the back end to buy in and be motivated. Those receivers just started really coming into their own, trusting Tom Brady that he was going to put them in the right situation. And you see the end result, Super Bowl champs.
D Hall, what we saw was an offense develop chemistry with each other as the season was going on because of the COVID restrictions and the way that the offseason went. And so to answer the question, MJ, can this offense, can this team be better? Absolutely, because they're getting even more reps together. I mean, imagine coming into this training camp as Tom Brady and all 22 starters on offense and defense coming back, and you're able to build on the installs and the stuff that you put in last year. They just weren't able to do that last year. So again, just the more reps. But I mean, I think this offense can be even better. Just think about it, guys. O.J. Howard missed, 12 games last year. And to me, this tight end has the ability to have a 1,000-yard season, man. Like, he's a guy that I don't know if he's ever had the weapons or the type of quarterback throwing him the football. Yeah. And guess what? Tom Brady loves throwing the ball down the middle of the field. So, yes, I do think this team could be better. They had all 22 starters back, so they really didn't need much. But they have to stay healthy. This is one of the older teams in the National Football League, and I think the health bug was on their side last year. Health is the only thing I can see kind of destroying a repeat for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I actually think there's one more layer here, guys, because, I mean, Irv mentioned it right there. They were chasing the rabbit. Now they are the rabbit, right? So every single team in the league is watching film. How do we take them down? How do we beat the Bucs? So now they have to reinvent and add on to a Super Bowl winning team, which, if anyone can do it, it's Tom Brady and BA. All right, guys, thanks. So things got a little spicy at Giants.
I think Russell has graduated to a level of thought where he's not that concerned with just his stats anymore, right? And, you know, people, Seahawks fans, they've heard me be critical of Russell, and I have, because I feel like we have a great fan base in Seattle, and the fan base has treated him well. So I don't know why he wanted to go anywhere, right? But at the end of the day, I think he's graduated to a level of thought where he wants to win Super Bowls. It's no longer about going out there throwing for 45 touchdowns and or leading the league in passing and things like that. I mean, that stuff is nice, but at the end of the day, you want to win Super Bowls. Legacies are built on Super Bowls, not necessarily stats. So I think Russell has definitely graduated to that level of thinking. And when you look at this team, Chris Carson has to be the focal point, especially offensively. You have to be able to stop the run if you're going to play against the Seattle Seahawks team when they're truly cranking at their highest level. And then Russell can be that special Russ, that guy that we've seen throwing 40 touchdowns, that guy that we see that's just deadly accurate from a playmaker standpoint in the red zone and things like that. We can see that at special moments. That's how you win football games. That's how you win football games in January and February. And I think Russell has definitely graduated to that level of thought that that's what he wants out of football right now.
And Rob, you're absolutely right when you talk about Russ wants to win Super Bowls. He wants to win championships. But I think Russ wants to do it his way, too. Look, this is a guy who flirted with leaving the 12s, right? He flirted with saying, hey, you know, if I went somewhere, these couple destinations look good on me. And so this is also a guy who wants to win his way. And when I think about competing against Russ, man, I know y'all could run the football, and heck, y'all ran the heck out the football. But when y'all were at y'all most dangerous, the things that keeps Aaron Donald up at night and Jalen Ramsey up at night is knowing, Jalen, that I got to cover DK Metcalf. But, man, if Aaron Donald doesn't get home, if Russ can just buy just that little bit of time, and, you know, I think that's where the Russ Cook movement kind of comes from. Is this offense is really good, right? You see DK Metcalf. I mean, the dude is Megatron 2.0 with probably a little more speed. But this offense is dangerous when Russ has an opportunity to get the football to some of those guys, right? You heard him talk about Gerald Everett. They went against Gerald Everett coming from the Rams. This dude can get open. And so giving Russ that ability to let him cook. I know you got to run the football, and I agree with you. But, man, you also got to find a nice balance because Russ needs that ball in his hands for this offense to be as dynamic as they can be.
He definitely needs the ball in his hands in the critical moments of games. So I agree with you in that regard. But at the end of the day, ever since we won the Super Bowl in 2013 and they went back in 2014, this team has been trying to let Russ cook. Where has that gotten this team, D-Hall? Right back to training camp this year looking for that other Super Bowl, right? So at the end of the day, you got to go back to the formula, man. You got to go back to the formula. And the formula is run the football. It helps your defense out. And then you let Russ cook in special moments in games. That's how you win Super Bowls in this league with the Seattle Seahawks.
He's certainly trying, guys, but he was one of the most sacked QBs of 2020. Actually, he's had 40 or more sacks per season over the last 8 seasons, which is the most over a 50-year span. That's not nothing, y'all.
Stop running around.
All right. All right, guys. Let's check in on some of the latest headlines from around the league. So Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill did not practice today. Coach said it's tendonitis and not a concern. The Colts called the foot surgery earlier this week for Carson Wentz a success, and offensive lineman Quentin Nelson is having the same surgery. So both will be out for 5 to 12 weeks. X-rays were negative, no issues on Matt Stafford's thumb. If you were wondering there for him, he hit on a helmet in practice yesterday. And the league says at least 90% of the players are fully vaccinated or have at least one shot. All right, Tom Brady is winning the game versus time. Shocking. And after the break, our guys discuss why the 2021 Bucs might be better than before.
9-year veteran All-Pro, right tackle Eagles, Lane Johnson. Lane, you're in full pads.
We just got done. About 10
It's the first time this year, right?
First time.
How'd it feel? How'd it feel to put them on? A little popping going on out there?
It felt good. You know, after the first couple of team periods, I think everybody started loosening up, settling in, and it felt like it was back to normal, back to football.
This is what it's supposed to feel like, Lane. So you have to go through this. I guess, you know, Eagle fans want to know, you had issues with your ankle last year, had surgery, worked on it all off season. I mean, does it feel pretty good to you?
Yeah, I think it's looking good. The film's adding up, so feeling really good, looking really good, and keep stacking days, man. Just ready for Atlanta.
Stack the days, Lane. New coach, new system, new way of doing things. Tell the fans, Lane, a little bit about Nick Sirianni, that things that they wouldn't know that you've really kind of come to like about the way he approaches things.
Yeah, I mean, he preaches competition. So really, you know, every day in a team meeting, somebody's either, you know, we're watching film, holding everybody accountable. So it doesn't matter if it's a veteran or a younger player, but usually everything ends in a competition. So it may be ping pong, it may be basketball, it may be cold calling questions. So answering questions about the offense, defense, or special teams. So he does that every meeting, every day. And I think that holds people accountable and gets people's attention.
The quarterback is coming in, Jalen Hurts, this year. What have you seen this year, Lane? You were around him as a rookie last year. He got a chance to play, you know, the last 4 weeks of the season a year ago. What have you seen from training camp and this offseason from Jalen?
Just the progression. You know, whenever we first started out, everybody's starting to get the hang of the offense, and now you're seeing big-time throws out of Jalen. Good decision-making and really taking command of the huddle. And today, you know, had a 2-minute drive and making good decisions. So, like I said, man, it's really early to tell, but I'm expecting big things.
Better days here for the Eagles ahead here, Lane, with this new staff and new way of doing things?
Better days, man, and it's you know, the coaches can only do so much. It's ultimately up to the players, the veterans, to lead the way and you know, get these preseason games going, looking crisp, and get ready for Atlanta week 1. That's the goal.
All right, guys, I said this earlier. I have more questions about the Eagles than any other team going into this season. They're an enigma wrapped in a riddle. I mean, who are the Eagles? And Rob, do you have a couple questions on your own when it comes to their QB?
Yeah, you know, MJ, I have a lot of questions about this team as well. Like, and I do. And I don't necessarily question whether Jalen Hurts can get the job done or anything like that. I think the kid definitely can get it done. But just when I look at this roster, and again, this is on paper, it just looked like maybe last year, maybe the roster looked better on paper, right? And again, I got to see this team go out. I got to see this team go out healthy. and go out there and totally compete. And I also got some confessions to make here, guys. Okay, a couple weeks ago I made some comments about Nick Sirianni, about how didn't know about the guy and things like that. Oh man, my Twitter blew up. Philly fans got at me. I got letters. My mom got calls from family in Philly and everything. Oh yeah, man, they got at my neck, right? And then I even had some players get at me like, Mike, dog, the head coach is the man, and he preached. And they told me about him preaching about competition, and that's something that I know from Pete Carroll out there in Seattle. Competition will bring out the best in guys, but I definitely think Jalen Hurts and his ability gives this offense the most options to succeed, and definitely that guy right there, Miles Sanders, will be happy that he has a movement quarterback, because it's definitely going to open up some things for him in the run game and make blocking defensive fronts a little easier on Lane Johnson and company.
Yeah, and Rob, everyone's saying the pressure's on Jalen Hurts. In my opinion, the pressure's on Nick Sirianni here. This is a guy who hadn't called plays before, so you got every right to kind of have your concerns. And I have my concerns, and I vocalized and I told people my concerns. And just like you, and Rob, I've had coaches on the Philly staff push back and tell me, hey, no, Nick Sirianni is the guy. He is really, he can control this locker room. He can get these guys going. But that's the question that you have to try to figure out, right? A football team, especially a young football team, they take on the identity of their coaches, presumably that head football coach. And so we knew what Doug Peterson was all about, right? Doug went and got his Super Bowl ring. I felt like, because Doug stayed a little bit long, too committed to Carson Wentz, this football team took a step back. But, now it's Jalen Hurts' show. And so it's up to Nick Sirianni to put him in the best position to succeed. If that's running the football with this stable of backs, you got to run the football. I mean, think about this. Elijah Holyfield, Jordan Howard, Kerryon Johnson, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. I mean, these are dudes that at any given time are home run hitters and can make plays. They got to find a way to run the football to help protect Jalen Hurts.
And listen, this was a team that was in the bottom half of the league in nearly every offensive and defensive category. I think, to your point, we're still a few years away from seeing who they can really be under Nick Sirianni. Don't forget, week 2 preseason, New England at Philly, live right here on the NFL Network. Meantime, across this division, there was a full-out team brawl at Giants camp today. So here's how this played out over social media. Wow. Ralph Vacchiano reported that there was a pileup that Daniel Jones ended up in the bottom of. That, of course, resulted in a lot of running. I know, a lot of running for the team. Well, we heard from Daniel Jones directly when he was asked how his head coach handled that situation. Take a listen.
Everyone's excited. First day of pads. Get out there. We got to do a better job, controlling that and making sure we're controlled in our enthusiasm and excitement.
Were you, down the bottom of the pile with 90 grown men around you like that? What were you thinking?
I was fine. Yeah, I was all good. No problem.
What was Joe's message? Coach got the message across
again? I think there's consequences for that kind of stuff, and that's the way it is in the game. If you lose your cool, there's consequences. That hurts the team. So that was the message, and I think everyone understands that.
Have you ever seen him that angry before?
Yeah, he's a pretty, he can get excited, and I think, guys respond to it, and I think they certainly got the message today.
I think, Daniel, some people would say, starting quarterback, kind of stay out of that. What made you want to run in and participate?
I'm part of the team, and I don't, part of the team, part of the offense, and we're competing, so I don't see myself separated from that.
Yeah, DJ, I'm going to need you to stay out of all pileups of any kind. Come on, man. D-Hall, what are your thoughts on this brawl? And I know things get chippy at training camp, but,
MJ, you got to mix it up. Come on. I love Daniel Jones' answer. Hey, look, I'm a part of the offense. You best believe I'm going to go in there and get it on. But look, I just think back, and even when Joe Judge got this job, right, we were kind of like, man, is Coach Judge ready for this? It was a young football team, and young football teams, you can kind of mold to your identity. But I tell you what, I know it's some veterans on that football team that when you said get on that line and run, I don't know, M-Rob. You probably saw the back of my jersey, man, as a 10, 11-year vet coach. I'm getting my running in, man. Like, that's part of competing, though. Look, we all understand as players, M-Rob, you can't do it in the game, right? You can't cost your team penalties. As a guy who got his team a lot of penalties, I understand that now that I'm retired. But I tell you what, in the moment, MJ, it's mano y mano. You got to get it on.
And you know what, guys? That answer from D. Hall does not surprise me, as him and I both have had penalties against each other, going after each other on the football field. So, D. Hall, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. You're a little scrappy out there. I know what you mean. But look, I have no problem with the New York Giants scrapping it out and fighting at training camp, right? I have no problem with that. I kind of don't have no problem with the coach reacting the way that he did and making him run and do push-ups, even though I would have been pissed off about that. I may have pulled up with my hammy a little tight on one of them gashes, but I have no problem with that. But going to Daniel Jones, right? Every single franchise quarterback, okay, who has earned the respect of his team that I've been on, they get away from those fights, man. You know why? Because at the end of the day, okay, you got to be available for the games, man. You can't let nothing happen to yourself, right? And to see that he ran over to the fight and think that he's part of the guys and all that type of stuff, look, man, you should not be still trying to earn the respect of your teammates. I'm not so sure that's what it was, but that's what it looks like to me. I'm just saying.
Could be a layer to explore there. By the way, one more note from practice here. Giants wide receiver Kenny Golladay, he left practice actually holding the back of his left leg there. The Giants and Browns, they play Saturday, August 22nd, part of our preseason coverage. Right, before the kerfuffle here. Somebody else giving a little insight into maybe what led to this. Well, the Giants are doing a giveaway for the first ever Eli Manning bobblehead. And Eli, he can't help himself. He noticed the timing. He says the bobblehead is so in demand that it caused the brawl at practice. Eli, man, read the room. That's got to be the story, though, right? You know what? I'll take that explanation. I'm here for it. All right, we were lucky enough to get our hands on a sneak preview of Cowboys camp from our friends at NFL Films and HBO. Here's some of what we have to look forward to in this year. Hard Knocks, the Dallas Cowboys, premiering August 10th on HBO Max.
Every one of us is from somewhere, and we're from someone. It's about winning.